What's up, everybody? James Michelle here, and I'm here live today with my my spoiler review. Generally, I do a normal edited video, but I'm a little short on time, and I just said, hey, I'll do a live breakdown of this episode, and I'll also invite a special guest, Kyle's Fukin Chickens. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey James, I'm Kyle's Flippin' Chickens. I started off like 3 or 4 years ago commenting on James of Thrones' channel and Tony Teflon's channel, and I've since chatted with you guys on Don the Kraken with chats and stuff like that. And Don the Kraken invited me to a chat one night, and that's how we met. And ever since, I've been doing videos of my own. Huge Game of Thrones fan, and I've read the books as well. So definitely down to chat Game of Thrones whenever you want, James.
Right on, right on. We're not going to do like a complete like scene by scene breakdown. We're going to kind of go by region, and I'm saving my favorite region for last, even though it happened chronologically first in this episode. That being said, we're going to first start talking about what happened at Horn Hill. Of course, the scene started out with Sam and Gilly in the carriage on their way to Horn Hill. Sam introducing Gilly to his kind mother and sister. And of course, the meet the Tarleys dinner scene with the scathing and cold Randall Tarley, and then of course the aftermath of that scene and Sam taking Gilly and their child away and grabbing Heartsbane on the way out. Kyle, why don't you go ahead and tell me what you thought of this scene and any thoughts you had in general of it?
Yeah, Sam's one of my favorite characters overall. He's probably in my top 3 or 4 characters just because he's such an empathetic person, and we can relate to Sam. He's just one of the really nice people in the story that you're kind of rooting for, and it was really good overall. I thought it was shot beautifully. Horn Hill was a really welcome sight to get, and they're always picking these beautiful locations, and we're really getting spoiled this season especially. But I really enjoyed it. I thought Randall. Tarly's character, James Faulkner, he really nailed that scene. It kind of embodied everything that we thought of Randall Tarly in the books, being very dickish and cold towards Sam. Overall, I think the scene I enjoyed the most in Horn Hill was the Melissa Tarly and Sam reuniting scene. It's nice to see that someone has Sam's back in that family. Melissa is very stout and resolute in her love for her family, and I found some really interesting things like Little Sam, some of the conversation there, and I really, was kind of speculating on a few things with, him stealing Heartsbane and whatnot. But overall, I really enjoyed the scene. My second favorite scene in the episode was Melissa Tarly and Sam and the interaction with the baby. So I thought it was well done. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought, obviously the first little carriage scene, that was a little fillery, it was what it was, but I really enjoyed seeing the difference in dynamic between the parents. We could definitely see Randall is a cold, heartless bastard, and that his mother is warm and very kind. And same with his sister too. His sister was like very nice to Gilly, giving her dresses or a dress, and just being pretty jovial whatsoever. And another thing that interested me was like Dickon really didn't come off as a bastard either. Like Randall, he seemed, he didn't seem like a dick, if you know what I'm saying. He seemed all right too. But the thing that interested me here was when Randall, or when Gilly's sister says, "Oh, our father could learn something from your father," when talking about Craster, when she was saying it to Gilly, just because Craster taught her how to hunt. But yeah, I don't really want to learn anything from Craster really, except maybe north of the wall survival skills. I guess is about the only thing that Craster could teach me. But yeah, I really enjoyed the scene overall. And one thing that was interesting to me was that I brought up last night was Randall kind of bashing intelligence almost. He's saying, "Oh, you're weak because you're in your books," and he doesn't like me personally. Like if I had a child in Westeros and he was going to become Maester of the Night's Watch, I'd be like, "Man, that's fucking awesome," Yeah, I'd be proud of him. And but Randall, he's got this bravado, like this. I think it's kind of like a scathing remark on like how bullshit masculinity can be, like how you have to be set in this masculine way, I guess. And essentially, Sam just says, "Screw it, I'm out, and I'm gonna steal your sword." And later, I'm interested to see where it goes. Where do you think it's gonna go from here, Kyle?
Well, it's really interesting, man. Like you said, I mean, this season overall, we've kind of the women have kind of taken charge. So it was really nice to kind of well, not it wasn't nice to see how Randall reacted towards his son, but there's that balance of ice and fire in the story that we always get. The warmth and then the death and all that stuff. So we had both of those moments in this particular scene. We had the warmth of Melissa Tarley and the ice coldness of Randall. But it's I'm a firm believer that Sam is going to be the one to find a very, very important piece of information on the White Walkers, and I also think little Sam is very important. In the scene with Melissa Tarley, I was looking at his piercing blue eyes, and there was something there for me. It really kind of struck a chord with me, and Gilly talked about Old Town and about how it was the most beautiful city in Westeros. So I'm really excited to see Sam go to Old Town because John sent him there, and he's got some sort of purpose in the story. And I think his purpose is to find information about the dragons of the White Walkers because he has to get back to John at some point, right? I mean, we got to believe that there's going to be a reuniting scene there at some point between Sam and John. With only 14 or 15 episodes left after this season, I got to think that we're going to be getting some epic stuff at Old Town. I'm not sure what Randall Tarley will do, James, but I mean, I think he's going to be really pissed off that he stole the sword, and it is really important that we get more of those artifacts because we do know that the White Walkers are coming very soon for Westeros. So great overall, though.
Right on. Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed the scene. One thing I always kind of thought with Sam, I always thought it was like George saying that with the Sam character that there's like a dichotomy or like there's a place in this world for warriors and scholars, and both are important in their separate ways, and one shouldn't essentially diminish the other. That's kind of how I always viewed the character Sam, and I hope in the books and the show that Sam does something great. I always like Sam isn't my favorite character, but like I have nothing against him, and I recognize his importance, and I want him to do something great. So.
One final thought I had, James, before we jump into anything, is I just want to add this real quick. If you look at our current situation in our current world, you look at the people who rule the world, it's the most intelligent people that are successful. And I think in the story of A Song of Ice and Fire, you see mostly power is taking hold in Westeros and Issa. So I think where George might be headed with the story and where it might end, it's going to be bittersweet, like you said. So I'm thinking that in the end, we will see people like Sam and Tyrion and Bran, who are the ones surviving to tell the story of how everything happened, and it will be like the repercussions of what happened in war. So I definitely think you're on the right track there, and I definitely think that Sam he's got a super important part to play, and I think that's kind of where it's headed in the story for me personally.
Now one thing that's interesting to me is Sam just going to lug around Heartsbane with him to Oldstown and just keep it there? Because I think, they know that he told them that they were going to Oldtown to become a maester, to get maester training. You would think Randall would then send, I guess, soldiers to Oldtown to retrieve his sword. I'm just interested to see what they're going to do with that whole situation. Do you have any kind of predictions or any ideas?
That sword is important because we for sure got two in the story. We got Jon's long claw and we got Brienne's Oathkeeper. Wherever Joffrey's sword is, that might be important. Who knows where that goes? But if people like the Hound are coming back and a few other characters, if we have like 10 or 12 characters at the end of the story who are going to be fighting this final battle for Dawn, James, we're really going to need all these weapons as possible because in the end, we're going to have dragons and stuff, but it looks as if they're going with the Valyrian steel dragon glass route, man. Like maybe the dragons won't even be effective, and maybe they won't even be there by the time the final battle is there. So with the very few very very good warriors that we have, like Brienne, Jon, maybe Jaime finds some way to become great again. We're gonna really need that sword, and I think it's ultra important to the story that we have good warriors having Valyrian steel swords in the final battle.
For sure. All right, well, we will move on from Horn Hill, and we will go to the events of King's Landing. First, we have Tommen coming into the Sept of Baelor, talking to the High Sparrow. They have a conversation, and the High Sparrow essentially says, hey, do you want to see your wife? Because the High Sparrow is obviously manipulating some things, and he knows what can sway a 14-year-old's mind, a 14-year-old boy's mind that's going through puberty. We know what can sway the mind of a 14-year-old boy. Yeah. So he takes him to Marjorie, and then of course Marjorie, I think, is also it's not just her being swayed here by the High Sparrow, I believe. I think there's some other ulterior motives possibly. But that being said, we then later see Mace Tyrell, Olenna Tyrell, Jaime Lannister with the Tyrell soldiers march onto the Sept of Baelor. There's a big demonstration out front. But before it can come to blows, of course, we see the big shocker. The Sept of Baelor opens, and King Tommen of the House Baratheon has sided with the Faith. And then, of course, after that, we have the stripping of Jaime as a Kingsguard member, which was surprising to me, or as Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, just stripped from it. He got the Barristan Selmy treatment. And then, of course, we have Jaime and Cersei still not split apart, still very much in love, it seems like.
Shame.
Yeah, shame, indeed. And then, of course, Jaime talks about how he's going to go to the Riverlands and meet with the Blackfish. So, Kyle, what do you think of this whole sequence of what happened in King's Landing?
Well, High Sparrow's a master manipulator, man, like Varys Littlefinger level. He's really he's really taken advantage of the opportunity that Cersei gave him. The one thing, like you pointed out, Marjorie, what I got from overall over the couple scenes we got in King's Landing, Marjorie, I think, is going to come on top over Cersei here. I think she's got a plan, and she's got Tommen wrapped around her finger, and she's got something up her sleeve. I mean, she learned from probably one of the best players in the game, Olenna Tyrell, and I found really interesting that Olenna said they lost, but I don't think they lost yet. You know what I mean? I think the Lannisters are completely screwed in this situation, but I wouldn't roll out the Tyrells coming out of it okay. But Tommen doing all that, man, he's a goner. He's a goner by the end of the season. This sealed it for me. He is totally done. I don't know what will happen with the Faith and everything else, but Tommen's a goner. This sealed it for me. But honestly, I really enjoyed the High Sparrow stuff this season because in the books we don't necessarily get the POVs from Littlefinger and Varys and whatnot. So it's really interesting to see inside his mind and his machinations and what he's really up to. Not 100% quite sure what it is yet, but I mean, he embarrassed the Tyrells and Lannisters in King's Landing. Shit is going to be going down soon, and Jaime's gone. I'm actually really, I'll add this too. I'm really happy that Jaime and Cersei aren't going to be together anymore, because for me, I'm not a really negative guy, James, but Jaime's character arc in the show has really bothered me, and I'm really excited for them to be split apart and Cersei to become more of the Mad Queen and Jaime to do more of the stuff in the Riverlands. So I think, in Bran's vision as well, we do see the wildfire lighting up, but I'm not going to get into that because we're going to discuss that after. But I'm certainly thinking that shit's going to hit the fan, within the next 3 episodes this season for sure at King's Landing.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some shit going down in King's Landing. That is for damn sure. But yeah, this I enjoyed King's Landing for the most part. I'm starting to come around more on the whole High Sparrow scenes, because I thought earlier they were kind of fillery and boring, but I'm kind of like rewatching them, and yeah, I think we're definitely seeing the High Sparrow here essentially being Littlefinger, like Pope Littlefinger, Littlefinger Pope version. Yeah, I'm thinking because I always remember the first scene he had with Jaime where he's talking about how a poor individual doesn't have the power to change anything by himself, but as a collective group, they can bring down nations. And I think his ploy here is he's trying to, I don't know, maybe make some sort of papal state or for the common folk. Yeah, something along those lines. I don't know though. I mean, maybe not, but he's definitely doing something. And
he's nefarious, man. I don't like him. Okay, you know what? I like him, but I don't like him because, I in my own life, I'm pretty much anti-government. I mean, if we look at the state of what's happening in the world, the people like me and you are pretty much, I don't want to say we're powerless, James, but we pretty much are. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think that he has some great ideas, and I think George has written this character brilliantly, and that's, he's trying to show us the situation, the real situation of what's going on between the small folk and royalty. I mean, Tommen is a kid. He's a good kid, but he's not a good king, right? And the High Sparrow's taking advantage of that. So it's really brilliant to see what's going on with this particular situation. And we have seen it unfold over many seasons now. And at some point, it's got to stop for the real crux of the story of A Song of Ice and Fire to unfold.
Right. Going to the I mean, obviously, he's definitely playing Tommen for sure. Everyone's playing Tommen, even like to an extent, like his own mother's playing him in some regards. They're all like essentially, he's like a big pie, and they're all taking a slice out of him. And it's unfortunate, and he is going to die. He's going to get caught in the crossfire at the end, and he will be killed, which will further, make Cersei descent into madness. But like the like I said, the High Sparrow knows what motivates a 14-year-old boy. And even it was funny because I saw on Twitter, like the RP account of Tom and Brethren, it said, "I did it all for the pussy." I showed a picture of Marjorie. Yeah, standing outside the Sept of Baelor when he came out. Yeah, I did it all for the pussy.
Can I throw a tinfoil prediction at you for the end of the season?
Sure, go ahead.
You know how Bran got pushed out of the tower and Jaime and Cersei were there to see the whole thing? I'm thinking that Cersei's going to watch Tommen get pushed out of a window by one of the sparrows. And I think it's going to be like the kind of parallel between Bran and Tommen. And that's going to be, and she's going to be like, oh my God, all of this started with Bran. And this season has really been a lot about Bran. But I think he's going to get pushed out of a window and get smushed on. He's a goner for sure. Like, I agree with you. But I wouldn't it be awesome if Cersei had the same thing happen to her son? Not in a coma, but dead, pushed out of a window. I want to see that. That's my personal.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, first, I don't know. I think I said it on your channel yesterday. Like Mace Tyrell reminds me of the mayor of Emerald City from Wizard of Oz. And like it was even amplified even more when he was like sitting with his frilly armor, and he just looks, I don't know, he looks pompous and dumb. But I think he's funny. I think he brings a good comedic element to the show. But yeah, like Olenna, she says it herself. Essentially, she says we lost. And so what was your thoughts on the Kingsguard scene of Jaime getting stripped by his Kingsguard? Were you surprised by that?
No, not at all. After Tommen, I actually, when me and my cousin were watching it last night, I was like, you know what, Jaime's gone from King's Landing because, I read the episode synopsis for number 7 where Jaime meets a hero, but I mean, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I knew Jaime had to leave King's Landing at some point, and Cersei. I think that was the last time that Cersei and Jaime are ever going to meet in the story. I think that was it. I think, but overall, man, like Tommen really screwed up, but he doesn't know any better, man, because like I said, he's a really good, he has good intentions, but he's in the middle of a really fucked up situation. Fucked up situation, pardon my language. So there's no way, there's no really way, there's no win-win situation for Tommen here. It's lose-lose in my opinion. Like there's just the way it's playing out. He has no other choice but to do this essentially because he loves Marjorie and he doesn't want to break his family apart, and he wants them to, they're everyone to survive. So it's unfortunate because Tommen seems like a really good kid overall,
Right. Well, before the episode, I did not expect this. I didn't expect this would be the way that Jaime would go to the Riverlands. I expected the High Sparrow to kind of bring him in, tell him about how Cersei confessed that she had sexual relations with Lancel, and that would piss Jaime off, and he would ask for maybe a reassignment or something. But it was interesting. Kind of there definitely was a parallel to Barristan Selmy in a sense. Except Barristan was more badass at that particular scene. Yeah.
James dropping bombs, dude. You just blew my mind. I never even thought of that. It's so parallel to that, eh? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, I personally, the last scene in King's Landing, man, I just really wish, I try not to bitch too much about show and book changes, but I just really wish that they moved on from Cersei and Jaime loving each other. They're supposed to be starting this schism, and they even leave on a note that doesn't propagate that. They leave on good terms. He's going to expecting that they're going to be together, and I wish there was something that would have divided them, split them apart. Do you agree with that?
Man, you said the word schism, and the word schism literally means a divide of perspectives in religion. So I don't think I need to say anything else. You just nailed it. Really, honestly.
Cool. We will move on from King's Landing and go to, actually, this might have been my actual favorite part of this episode, aside from the Benjen stuff, is the stuff that occurred in Braavos. Of course, we see Arya back at the play. We see the the final act of that play, essentially the Purple Wedding. One thing that was interesting that I caught on was we definitely see the actress who was playing Sansa mouthing the lines of Cersei, because she's like, hey, I'm going to take this chick's part when she gets off. After, we definitely know by now that she was the one that contacted the Faceless Men to have Mistress Crane or Lady Crane offed. And also, I don't know if you picked up on this, but I thought it was interesting, the dichotomy that Arya, in her previous time in Westeros, obviously she would love her sister Sansa, and she hates Cersei. But in this regard, the actress that she is relating to and the actress that she's pissed at and doesn't like is the actress, she doesn't like the one that's playing Sansa, and she likes the one playing Cersei. I found that as an interesting, opposite dichotomy that they're going with there. Then, of course, Arya, she's got to go in the back, and she puts the poison in Lady Crane's water or alcohol, whatever it was. And rum, yeah. And on her way out, though, she bumps into Lady Crane and they have a conversation. Of course, this plays on Arya's conscience. And they have a nice conversation. You can tell that Lady Crane is not a bad person. She seems like a good person. And then she leaves. But of course, when Lady Crane's about to drink the rum, Arya comes in with the Dikembe Mutombo block and swats it out of her hand. Yeah, no. And yeah, that scene was cool. And then, of course, after that, we see the waif. She's waiting there, spying on Arya to see if she gets the job done, and she goes back and snitches her out to Jaqen. And Jaqen says, yeah, we have to kill her, but don't let her suffer. While he's doing the scene from Face Off where he's cutting the guy's face off. I guess that's how they're going to do it, Face Off style. And
Cage.
Yeah, and then we see Arya dig up needle and blow out the candle, and it would fade to black. And I thought that was a perfect way to end that scene. That was in Braavos. So, Kyle, what did you think of this scene altogether, the whole thing?
Well, overall, James, I like Arya's storyline is my favorite this season. I guess I can put Bran as a close second because it's revealing so much information. But it's the play is a play within, because the Mercy chapter is one of my favorite chapters, but it's like a play within a play because Arya is playing herself in the crowd while the Faceless Men are evaluating. They're always watching her. And even though you don't see them in that scene, they're definitely watching her reaction. And when she has a reaction in the crowd, everybody's like, "Oh, why are you laughing? Like someone is dying. Why do you think someone getting poisoned is funny?" That doesn't make any sense. But overall, the play is written brilliantly. I think they're absolutely nailing the Braavos stuff out of the park. Arya is in big trouble. I'm actually really worried that Arya might not make it out of this season, but. Overall, man, the story is just awesome. We get to see a little bit more of the Faceless Men and kind of Jaqen sick the waif on Arya, and I think over the next couple episodes we will see Arya and the waif battle to the death. Only one of them is going to survive, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see where it goes. I had a feeling that Arya was not going to become known. She has too much Stark blood in her. She's a she-wolf. She's never going to forget that side of her, and Needle kind of is the embodiment of her Stark heritage. She got that from Jon, and her going to retrieve that was just sealing the deal. She's going to go back to Westeros at some point. But I'm really I have a feeling, well, my personal opinion on what the Faceless Men are doing, the whole time through the whole series, I believe that they've actually just been wanting to acquire Arya's face, and they've been manipulating her the whole time. They really want her to fail, in my opinion. And they want to steal her face because they want to go back to Westeros and do some sort of nefarious thing in King's Landing because they owe a ton of money to the Iron Bank. But overall, man, I've enjoyed every single Arya scene this season. And the music for me in this episode, and especially in Braavos, is always really setting the scene perfectly. Ramin Djawadi, give props to him because the scenes always feel so deep and intricate and mysterious. So overall, I really enjoyed it, and like I said, the Mercy chapter is one of my favorite chapters. The pre-release Winds of Winter chapter, I read it every couple months just to kind of go over it, and it's really interesting too, James. I forgot to point out that the guy who played Robert Baratheon in the play, his name is Inzambaro on IMDb. So the Faceless Men have really set Arya up I think, you know what I mean? Because they do want to know if she's going to become no one, but there's something more there that we haven't seen yet. And I think that we're going to get that kind of information in the next couple of episodes.
Oh yeah, and of course you bring up the score. I love Game of Thrones score. It's one of my favorite scores in like media history. I listen to Ramin Djawadi's score all the time. We could even probably do a freaking whole live chat on Ramin Djawadi's score because I love almost all the songs he comes up for all the different themes for the different characters. But that being said, I think the waif is a hypocrite because she has this attitude of like, you know, you're supposed to be no one, but and like you're supposed to be impartial about some of these things. It seems like to me when I think of a faceless man, you're supposed to be like impartial about everything. You're just supposed to not have any like almost personal feelings whatsoever. But she comes off like she really wants Arya to fail and she wants to kill her. I think the waif is kind of a hypocrite in that regard. And yeah, I don't think I'm as worried about Arya dying in Braavos. I really don't want that to happen. Because what I think is going to happen is I think her and the waif, I think she's going to go back to the troop, and I think she's going to try and like secure passage to Westeros with that troop. And I think the waif is going to be there to waylay her. She's going to be waiting, and then and I got to give props to T-Bay because she pointed this out in last episode or a couple episodes ago when the waif and Arya is fighting. I guess what Arya asks, what's her name? What's her name? The waif's name. And I think the waif is going to screw up and give Arya her name to put on her list or something, and then that's going to be the impetus of Arya to kill her or something. I don't know. It's all crazy. But I do think that Arya will kill the waif, and then she's going to make her escape. It's going to be that scene that we've seen in the trailers with her parkouring on the Braavos rooftops like it's Assassin's Creed. And yeah, I think she's going to make her way back to Westeros, not without any implications. I still think the Faceless Men are going to be tracking her down, and it's going to be not easy for her to live. And I'm interested to see where it's all going to go now. And I'm digging it, man. I never wanted her to become no one. I always wanted this to happen for her to reclaim Needle, for her to reclaim her identity and escape the Faceless Men. And to me, when it comes to the Winds of Winter and A Dream of Spring, like learning what truly motivates the Faceless Men, what kind of meta motivations they have or who they're working with is one of my like one of the things I'm most intrigued about in A Song of Ice and Fire. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Pardon me. I want one more thing to add before we move on, James. I'm into Buddhism. I meditate every day, so I've learned some of the principles behind religion, and I've studied different religions. But I want to relate the Faceless Men's religion back to Taoism, and it actually means the way or path, and it actually is the embodiment of yin and yang. And the House of Black and White is black and white, and there's a lot of parallels between that. And basically, a lot of the things that I've been finding about the Faceless Men, I mean, what it truly is like it's about like social structure and classes, and we know that the no one came from the minds of Valyria, of old Valyria, the first person who became no one, and Braavos was founded in opposition to the old Valyrian freehold, which was essentially like I wouldn't say a Nazi nation, but they were conquering, and they were the most powerful nation, and it was this like capitalism in its greatest form in Essos. So it's really interesting to see kind of how Jaqen is interacting, and I like that you said that the waif is a hypocrite because she's not truly embracing the Faceless Men's principle like in Taoism, and that's one thing that I've really been noticing about her. And I think Jaqen knows it too, and I think this is why it's so interesting, because we don't know their true intentions, right? Like 100% their true intentions. But you're right, the waif is a hypocrite in some respect. She's not really no one. She hasn't really fully embraced the Faceless Men edict herself. So I find it really interesting, and I'm really interested in seeing where it may go, because I'm interested in these types of religions and stuff myself. But I think you're right. You're spot on with the waif, man. I think she's going to end up dying. Arya's going to kill her.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I've always thought like Faceless Men. Okay, we definitely know that the way Braavos was founded, that they're anti-Valyrian slavers, they're anti-dragons. I always seem that they're working in conjunction with the Bank of Braavos. We see Jaqen sorry, I'm going to the books here, but we see Jaqen as the pate snooping around in Old Town, maybe trying to find a dragon book or something. And and then of course we see the Bank of Braavos. In the books, they go and seek Stannis out. Stannis doesn't have to beg like he did in the show, but they go and seek Stannis out. So it's always interesting to see. Like I've always thought they kind of have like an anti-Dany slant, but they haven't really delved into the books. So I don't know, but it's interesting. It's all interesting. I love the Faceless Men, and I want to know what they're all about.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
All right, we will move on from Braavos to the Dothraki Sea. I don't think we're going to be talking about this very long. It was a rather short scene. I called my shot and I was wrong. I said that Dario was going to be revealed as the Harpy this episode. Didn't happen. He couldn't make while I was thinking about it, I was like, well, if he truly is the Harpy, he couldn't make his move there. He was surrounded by Dothraki warriors. He couldn't make his move there. But yeah, we just see them coming into this I guess it's kind of like a canyon in the Dothraki Sea. Dany just kind of out of nowhere is like, she bounces. And then everyone's kind of like wondering what's going on. Dario's like, hey, I'm going to go find her. And I was like, okay, he's going to make his move here. This is where Dario's going to make his move, damn it. And of course it didn't happen because as soon as he said that, we see the large looming shadow of a very large Drogon. He's like getting to that Balerion level almost. He lands and we see Dany give a rousing speech, music swelling, end of the episode. She's like, will you take your horses across the poison or what? I forget what does she call it again? I always forget what she calls the narrow sea when she's talking to Dothraki.
I can't remember either. But the Dothraki hate the sea because they've tried it before and they all get seasick. They don't like it.
Yeah. So what did you think of this particular scene?
Well, me and you discussed this earlier, and I don't have a ton to add on it, but I'd have to say that, they're overdoing it with Daenerys' scenes, man. You know me, I'm not very negative, but I just didn't really enjoy this scene. Me and you discussed it earlier. If they would have switched the Benjen scene and this scene, and they would have had the Bran and Benjen scene and kind of had like the Benjen reveal at the end of the episode, I thought this episode would be like a 9.5 or a 9 for me. But Same. Yeah, I don't know really what to think, man. Like I just felt like it was really it was kind of cheesy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Drogon. And I want to see more dragons, and I want to see Dany get back to Westeros. But enough is enough, man. Let's just get her back to Marine. Let's get her sailing onto Westeros. I'm so done with this. Me. I've studied the Norse mythology, and Dany is the embodiment of Jormungandr, the serpent that encircles the sea, and it's like this story that keeps on repeating itself. And let's just get it over with. I'm ready to move on from Dany's storyline. Let's just get her to Westeros. That's really my thoughts on it.
Yeah, we have a very, very similar thought on this. I'm not anti-Dany. I don't hate Dany. I'm fine with her. I like her. But they do make it a point. It seems I want to say if I could go back and rewatch all the seasons, I feel like all the that supposed epic moments with music swelling, they've given Dany the final slot of the episode at least 6 or 7 times, even more than that. But it was what it was. I know some people really loved it. I just thought it was okay. I mean, I didn't hate it. It was there. Mm-hmm. I think, and yeah, I really want to see her get to. I want her to smash the Harpy, and I want her to get up on them ships and go to Westeros. That's what I want. So, I'm sure you feel the same way.
I will. Yeah, I will add one thing, man. Like I said, I'm not overly negative, but I honestly believe that this season's been the best season, and we've only got 6 episodes so far, and that's saying a lot for me because I'm an absolutely enormous Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire fan. I've read the books 3 times. I enjoy the books just as much as anyone, but I really honestly think Dan and Dave are doing a great job this season, with the exception of perhaps Dany's storyline. They've had too many of the same moments. They're trying to execute the same moments. You know what I mean? And I think it's. What they're setting up for me is I talked to you about this earlier. I don't think Dany's going to. I think they're kind of giving away what's going to happen with Dany's storyline. I feel like it's going to fall flat in the end because they've had so many of these moments already. You know what I mean? They need to save some of this stuff. Her being epic, man, in the end, because she's going to need to be there when they fight the White Walkers and stuff, man, and when she conquers Westeros or whatever. So I'm pretty much in agreement with everything that you said. I don't really have much more to add other than I enjoy it, but I'm not really super excited about her scenes.
Right. And I tend to agree with you, but I really enjoyed the season. Like, I thought maybe 1 or 2 episodes was a little filler, but I still give those episodes like a 7. So it's not like I'm thinking like any episode's like a 3 or a 2 or anything. And actually, I don't think any episode I've ever seen in the series is like a 2 or a 3. So, though I didn't I personally didn't like season 5, but that's my Stannis fan talking. But we are looking forward.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So this might be one of the most important scenes to me in this episode is what occurred at the Twins with Walder Frey. I don't know if you guys saw earlier, but I released a Lady Stoneheart prediction video, and I think they're telegraphing a little bit in this scene. Of course, we see Walder Frey berating his sons for not being able to take River Run because of the Blackfish is a badass, of course, and they can't take it. And Walder Frey says some interesting things, which I'll bring up here in a second. And then essentially he brings in Edmure, and they're going to take Edmure to River Run essentially, and going to meet with Jaime Lannister. I'm excited. I'm telling you, I'm really excited to see Jaime meet with the Blackfish, and I'm really excited to see him chat up with Edmure. But yeah, the couple of things I wanted to point out in this scene is this dialogue that I wrote down. First off, Walder Frey, I like this quote here. 300 years we kissed Tully boots, swore oaths to them and their stinking fish banners. No more. So once again, he's bringing up the Tully, kind of like the Tully Frey conflict that they have, reminding people like, hey, Catelyn was a Tully, and I think that was kind of like a reminder of that. Brotherhood without banners, name drop. That's very important, obviously. And then these 2 particular quotes. First off, to Lothar Frey, he says, "You show him the knife you killed Robb Stark's child in his whore mother's belly." And then he looks at Black Walder Rivers and says, "And you show him the knife you used to open his niece's throat, and you remind him who actually got married at the Red Wedding." This is me believing that D&D reminding people, hey, these 2 guys played a significant role in the Red Wedding, and something's going to come up, and we're just reminding you of this now. That's what I think. And essentially, my theory is, and I know Kyle feels the same way, he's like because a lot of people aren't on the Lady Stoneheart bandwagon. They think I'm kind of kooky. But Thoros of Myr was cast, the actor said he was coming back to the show, and that he was seen filming a scene involving a hanging, and then essentially, I believe Lothar and Black Walder Rivers will be playing the role as Merritt Frey. Thoros of Myr will be playing the role as Lem Lemoncloak, and then we're going to see Thoros of Myr say, or we're going to see Black Walder Rivers, who's actually the one who sliced Catelyn's throat, say, "Who is she? What do we do? Who are you?" And Thoros of Myr is going to say, "Oh, you should know. You killed her." And then that's when she's going to remove her headgear. I just got fucking chills thinking about that. And we're going to see Catelyn. Yeah. And so that's what I think's going to happen. Kyle, how do you feel? What's going on here with this scene?
Well, me and you have been in 5 or 6 separate videos together, and we've been called out at least 10 times about me and you being on the Lady Stoneheart train. I've never lost hope about Lady Stoneheart. I said they were going to do it for the past 4 seasons or 3 seasons. I've looked like a fool, but I'm completely on board. What's cool too is I interrupted you when you were watching the episode. I'm like, oh, even in the previews, I'm like, they showed Catelyn. They showed fucking Catelyn, man. Lady Stoneheart is coming. Yeah, I am going Super Saiyan. Lady Catelyn is coming back. We're getting Lady Stoneheart 100%. I don't know if it's in the next episode, but we're for sure 100% getting her. I agree with everything you said. I don't really need to add much more other than I'm super excited for it to happen. I mean, there's a lot of room in the story for it to happen. Obviously, Bran and Pudrick, we didn't see them this episode, but I mean, I think we're going to get some version of the Bloody Mummers. Before the season started on Watchers on the Wall, they did said there was going to be a band of outlaws cast. We're probably going to get them, some sect of the Brotherhood without banners that are serving Lady Stoneheart, Thoros of Myr, etc. So yeah, they really set it up. I was actually super surprised, to be honest, to see Edmure. I wasn't sure if we were going to get him at all because he's been in another show called Outlander, and he's been doing a great job. So I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to get him to kind of cast him back in the season. Super excited to see the Blackfish and the Siege of River One stuff that's coming up. But overall, man, I'm on board with everything you said. I don't think I can really add much more other than I think it's going down. Like I'm just really happy because like I've been called out so many times, been like, we're getting Lady Stoneheart, and I know you have too. So just really, really excited. You know what, man? If Dan and Dave put Lady Stoneheart in the season, I will completely forgive them for season 5 Dorn shit. 100%. Like I will completely forget about it.
Yeah, I'm completely on board. I mean, you can make a minor complaint that maybe they should have gone with this in season 4, or even the last season. I think they could have cut Dorn out last season and had Jaime go in the Riverlands the season early, and then you could brought Lady Stoneheart. But hey, better late than never, in my opinion. I'm down, man. And like if it goes down like how I explained it, I think it'll be fucking epic, 100%.
Dude, that will break the internet, man. Honestly, that like. I think we've had an epic moment in every episode of the season that could possibly go in episode 9 or 10. Honestly, I think we've been spoiled this season.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of epic moments for sure. And one thing when you break the internet, D&D said there's going to be a moment that breaks the internet this season. And I was talking to Don Willie. He was saying it's either going to be the wall falling down or Stoneheart. But I don't even know if, because I think it's kind of like, I don't know, some people, like a lot of people speculate the wall's going to fall down. So I don't know if that's exactly going to break the internet. Mm-hmm. Like it's going to be a crazy event for sure, but I don't know if that's going to break the internet to the point where, because you have so many people like they're like even like book readers, they're like Stoneheart ain't happening because it's too late. They've had their chances, they're not going to do it. So I think it's going to be like the event that breaks the internet, in my opinion.
Well, the wall falling is inevitable, man, because they have to have the final battle with the White Walkers, dude, and they have to get past the wall. Like it's happening. Yeah. The wall is falling, whether it's this season or next season, we're getting that.
Yeah. And I thought one thing that interested me was so the phrase they let Edmure shave, but they didn't let him get a haircut. Like, oh, you can shave Edmure, but we're not gonna give you a haircut.
Dope.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that Frey that scene was great. I love that scene. It was awesome. Next up, this was some good shit here. North of the Wall. First, we see Bran and his never-ending LSD trip, still connected to the werewood tree. It seems like, or he's still stuck in like Vision Land, and we see all these flashes of like we see some cat, we see some, you see the Mad King getting killed by Jaime. We see wildfire and all this crazy stuff, and yeah, that stuff was, yeah, I'm sure people are gonna be doing like frame by frame analysis of that.
I'm doing one later today, actually. Funny enough.
There you go. Plug Kyle's Cooking Chicken. Going to do frame by frame analysis. Go check it out. Yeah, and yeah, we see Mira. They're essentially giving up because Bran comes to and like they realize they're fucked. Because she can't drag him and he can't move. So and then the whites are coming at him. But then of course we see a masked rider in the night come out with his awesome flail thing that he's got, this chain whip. And he's just slaying these whites left and right. I loved it. I was down. And I don't know about you, but I could tell right away when they did a close-up of his face. I could tell by his eyes and his voice that it was Benjen.
His voice, yeah.
100%. Yeah, and then, of course, after that, the scene towards the end of the episode, they're sitting around a campfire, and I want to bring up this quote. This is going to give credence to the people who believe that Bran is Bloodraven, and he's in this infinite time loop because it's Mira says, "Why do you help us?" Bloodraven says, "The three-eyed raven sent for me." She says, "The three-eyed raven is dead, and now he lives again." And Bran wakes up right when he says that. So, of course, that's going to give credence to the people who believe that Bran is Bloodraven. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a lot more. I don't think so. But, yeah, that was just an interesting quote. And then, of course, we get the reveal that he is indeed Benjen, and he is dead. And I have to go back and re-listen to all the dialogue. I'm sure you realize what they said, Kyle. But it seemed like he was about to become a White Walker, and then the Children of the Forest stopped it or something. I'd have to go back and re-listen to the conversation. I'll let you expand upon it. And what you thought about the whole scene.
I watched the episode twice last night, and I watched it this morning. I always make sure I watch it a couple times, and then like the third or fourth time I take notes just to see if I missed anything, like because I always do my reviews on Monday like you do. But I found that really interesting, what he was saying, because he made it sound like the White Walkers wanted him to turn, right? Which is really interesting. And you can kind of see the decay in his face, not really like a white, but maybe almost becoming a White Walker. And we do know that the Stark's bloodline is super, super, super important. There always has to be a Stark in Winterfell. But, it was really interesting. I mean, I guess he is kind of like in like life purgatory, where he's not completely living, but he's not completely dead. And the Children of the Forest made him this really, really unique character in a sense that he's not dead, but he's not a White Walker. So I'm wondering, I'm kind of flabbergasted. I knew it was Benjen, but I didn't think we were going to get Cold Hands, man. I was really honestly shocked to see that I thought he was going to be alive. And then once I paused it on the horse and stuff, and you could see his hands and his face, and I was like, shit, it was a really ominous feeling for me because I wanted him to be alive, and it made me sad, you know what I mean? Because I was like, oh man, like this sucks, dude, because I really wanted Benjen to be alive. But honestly, man, it's really important because we did get the reveal of the White Walkers getting the dragon glass in the heart, and in the end of the story, I'm sure we'll find more about them this season. But I want to know the reason why they left him, and I'm thinking that a certain bloodline from the north. We can probably expand on this like right before we're done. But Craster's sons. I was talking about how Gilly's baby is super important earlier, and how they can make White Walkers and stuff. And we do know that there's dragon glass to the heart, but we see that altar too. And I'm sort of wondering how they make other ones. And maybe they were trying to make Benjen another one because he was a Stark and he has unique blood. And It's just really, really, really interesting because he does say that Bran has to meet the Night's King. He has to go back to Westeros to meet him. So it does sound like Bran is going to have to be the one to deal with the Night King. It does sound like it's going to be going that way.
I agree with that. What do you think about all the visions? Without, obviously spoiling your video, but...
No. I'm going to talk about it 6 times this week. But the one thing that stood out to me is that the most interesting thing in the vision is that the wildfire was exploding in the vision. I don't think that happened in the past, man. I think that might be the future of what's happening, because we do know that the Mad King wanted to burn them all, but that's quite possibly a foreshadowing of what's going to happen in episode 10, maybe this season, because in the vision we do see Drogon or Dragon flying over King's Landing, and then we've seen that vision before, but we never seen the wildfire stuff, and they're pouring it in there, and I don't think that's now. I think that actually Pac Mule had a really interesting point earlier. He was talking about the kettle blocks. Perhaps Cersei has some sort of like kettle blocks that she installs. And they're screwing around trying to get her the wildfire because she, like, Tommen's dead and she wants to do something really, really fucking crazy, and fucking crazy in King's Landing in episode 10 when shit's going down. So I think it's possible that Cersei may employ someone to like get her some wildfire, and they drop a vial or something like that, and that hits the fan. What's also really interesting is that like what I interpreted it as James, is Bran was learning everything all at once, the whole history of everything that like of the importance of the story. So he was essentially, I don't want to say uploading, but he was viewing the same timeline, all overlapping each other at the same time. And I think that was Bloodraven wanted to show him in increments, but he didn't have enough time because the nights like Bran screwed up and whatnot, right? So. Yeah, man, I'm honestly left with more questions than answers in my head, because I got to ask more on what does all of this stuff mean going forward? Mm-hmm. Why was he viewing, like, what does it mean to Bran and where he's going? I'm left with more questions, honestly.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's interesting is if Bloodraven is Bran, that does lead some credence to my my time paradox theory, where I had that Bloodraven essentially, because I wondered why Bloodraven brought Bran to the vision. We knew they were about to get killed, because he knew that that Bran was marked, and that the Night's King was going to be coming to the tree or to the cave. And I was like, why are you wasting time in this vision? And then I came up with the theory that Bloodraven knew that Bran had to he had a skin change Hodor in the past to weaken his mind in order for the less powerful Bran to skin change Hodor in the future, in those moments where he needed to skin change Hodor to make it to the cave in the first place. So it was like this time paradox that Bloodraven knew. If Bloodraven was Bran, he would know that he needed to do that. I don't know. It's just it hurts my head thinking about all this time travel and time paradoxes. But I don't know.
Can I throw something out right now, James? Sorry for cutting you off. One thing that I found interesting is when I was rewatching the Children of the Forest scene, and you look at Max von Sydow's face, who was playing Bloodraven, you notice the weirwood tree? It looked very, very, very similar to Bloodraven's face. I don't know if anyone noticed that, but I don't know why, but that really stood out to me. And we did go back, what, like 10,000 years? Who knows? 12,000 years. And we talked to the children of, or Leaf at least said that they were around for 10,000 years before the first men really came over and all this stuff started happening. But yeah, man, I I'm not really down with the whole time paradox thing, man. I'm hoping that it doesn't get too crazy and it gets really complicated because the story on where it's going. I'm hoping that Bran can't change the past or anything like that because it would almost make everything we've experienced, like all these characters and everything they experience, if they go that way in the end, if Bran has to change the past and basically like make sure they like someone that doesn't happen or someone isn't born or you know what I'm saying, something like that to happen. I hope they don't go that way, but I'm thinking that something crazy like that is absolutely going to happen this season, or we're going to get revealed that maybe the Mad King was made by Bran. I don't even know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard things that like Bran is the Lord of Light, whispering in the flames to the Red Priests. I've heard stuff like that. I'm like I want to kind of take a wait and see approach because I mean, you can be getting into some very elaborate and interesting, albeit maybe a little kooky kind of theories. But hey, it's all about the tinfoil. But yeah, it's very interesting because. Or go ahead, Kyle.
Can I ask you a question, James, and for everyone in the chat? I was saying earlier that me and you, before we went on, I thought it was really interesting to see like the person that changed into the Night King. When you look at him, he had blue eyes and blonde hair, if I'm not mistaken, or brownish blondish hair.
Yeah.
Do you think that little Sam looked like him? If they're ancestors, do you think that's important? I don't know, man, because I got the feeling that like little Sam was featured kind of in this episode, and then Bran saw how the White Walker was made. You know what I mean? In my mind, I feel like there's a resemblance there. And maybe, tinfoil alert, maybe the White Walkers have their own Azor Ahai prophecy and the 100th child of Craster is like their savior. And maybe it's super important that Jon and Bran have to, and Sam will have to keep that baby away from them. And in the end, it might be bittersweet where the White Walkers are like exterminated or something, James. And that baby, they have to kill him to completely exterminate their line or something like that. But they don't choose to do it in the end. And then it's like the threat is still there in the end of the story. You know what I mean?
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, one thing I hope that we get in the books, and hopefully we get it in TWOW, is I've always wanted to know how Craster came up with this system, like actually coming up with this pact to actually do this with his sons.
Yeah,
that's what I always want to know because I always kind of thought maybe Bloodraven was a little nefarious and he was planting dreams in people. Like he planted a dream in Craster to actually do this, but I don't know because the show's. I mean, but I think the show is with the stuff involving Bloodraven. I'm thinking it's way different. I mean, like completely different because as we know, Bloodraven in the books is only like 100. We believe he's Brennan Rivers, and which would make it like 150. They're definitely it seems like to me they're going with this way different sort of thing, unless they know something we don't and what we thought is wrong. I don't know. I'm kind of in a loss in this whole situation.
Well, I mean, the Hodor thing's going to be canon in the books, right? And I think a lot of this Vision stuff, it's revealing a lot. And I think that the Vision stuff, I mean, we can break down the Vision. We even saw Lyanna. I think that was Lyanna with the bloody hand too. We didn't even talk about that, James. And like Bran's got to be the one to view all this stuff because essentially Bran is us, the viewer, right? That's how I interpret Bran's story. He's our eyes and the mind into what's really going on. Without him, we would still be able to understand the story, but without him, we would truly not be able to understand everything that's happening and why it's going on. Mm-hmm. So I'm on your side, man. I'm just like. It's really hard to surprise me, but I have so many questions and like for example, why were they taking Craster's babies, man? Like what kind of agreement was there? I mean, there's more questions than answers so far. So
yeah, we've essentially come to the end of the analysis. Kyle, will you give a rating to this episode?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5. It's a really high rating, but I'm gonna give it just for the Bran stuff and Arya and Sam's scene. Though King's Landing stuff was okay, but the Benjen Cold Hands reveal was absolutely huge for me, and that vision that we got was like A++ for me. I mean, we got like the Jamie killing the Mad King, possibly Lyanna, and I'm sure they're going to expand on that stuff later in the season, but I would give it an 8.5, man. Every episode has been really strong for me. Like you said, you haven't given an episode less than 7. I'm a bit more optimistic than you are because I started watching the show first and then I read the books after. But I mean, yeah, it's I'll give it an 8. Overall, an 8. I thought it was solid, but there was some filler stuff that I didn't enjoy in the episode.
I actually didn't read the books until after season 2.
Oh, crazy, man! I totally thought you were a book reader first, man, because of your knowledge.
No, yeah, it was after season 2. I said, I watched the show and I saw this king, Stannis Baratheon, on the front of his boat with his sword. He was the first one off the beach. He was slicing dudes up left, right. I was like, I have to read more to know about that guy. That's a tangent. Yeah, I give the episode an 8 as well. I was a 7.5 yesterday, but the more I thought about it, I bumped it up to an 8. Yeah, I love I like the Meet the Tarleys. That was pretty good. I loved the Benjen stuff, obviously, and the Walder Frey scene was epic. And I loved the Braavos stuff. So that stuff made it an 8 for me. Well, actually, I'd say that stuff probably made it like a 9.5 for me, but the Dany scene brought it down a little bit. Just because of the cheese factor, it was fine. It served its purpose. But like I said, if they would have flipped, and like the thought I had in my head was like, they could have saved some of the like exposition stuff with Benjen for like next episode or something, and you just could have ended with like Bran waking up and like the Stark music, the Stark theme that would be playing when he like started taking off his headgear, and then we saw it was Benjen, and then Bran would just say "Uncle" and then fade to black. That's how I would have ended the episode if I was a writer of the episode, and that probably would have made it like a 9.75 or something like that. Just something to say, Kyle?
Yeah, I was gonna say because me and you talked about if they switched the scenes, I would give it a higher rating. Like for the Drogon scene, just because they had Drogon, that gives it a 7 for me. If they made it less cheesy, if they made the army larger and like near Marine or something like that, and made it seem like Dany was on the cusp of arriving to Marine, it would have made it feel more important. You know what I mean? But we've already been doing this Dothraki stuff for quite a while, so maybe if they had switched the scenes and then like if the Drogon showed up and they switched the scenes, like I said, they did the Benjen stuff last, and we had the Goodbye Brother theme or the House Stark theme, and made it seem like it was kind of more a sad ending and made it feel more like, oh my God, it's like Bran really needs to get in back into Westeros, give you this ominous feeling of the winds of winter coming. I would have given it like a 9.9. Like I thought the episode was really, really, really strong because of the Benjen stuff, but like the Dany speech cheese factory was like a 4, but the Drogon kind of made it like a 7. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important just for television in general, to make sure you end on your strongest note possible, because that's obviously the last impression a person's going to have of the episode. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah, guys, we're about done with everything. We're going to have KFC here do his sign off. He'll tell you where you can find his channel, and I hope you guys go and subscribe to him because he's got good content. So go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah. Like I said, originally I started off in the message boards just as a lurker 3 or 4 years ago, and I was chatting with James and LaDonna and people like you, and I subscribed to Tony Teflon's channel, and I just after season 1, funny enough, I just read the books all in one summer in about 2 weeks, and I became a huge fan of the show. And, Don the Kraken, I went on his channel a little bit ago, and he really inspired me to start doing videos. And I don't work since I'm on disability, so I really have time to really read the story over again and really go over because Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones are just my jam. I really enjoy this stuff. But like I said, I'm like you. I like to do episode reviews. I have 2 shows. I have one on Tuesday night with Christina the Sphinx, and we do kind of a fun episode review. We have some humor in there, and I always have a special guest. I'm going to have 2 special guests tomorrow night. And then on Saturday, I have a new show with a couple of people in the Game of Thrones community, Johnny the Irish Wildling and Tarzan, who will be doing some trivia. And yeah, like I said, I'm just trying to connect with everyone in the community. The community is really awesome overall. Like I said, said, I've got some really good support, and I'm just a nerd like you guys, everyone in the chat. I just really honestly love interacting with everyone and making new friends, and I thought this would be a great medium for me to kind of just discuss the story even more, because I come in the Hypes Watch chats and stuff like that, and I really enjoy all the content out there. So yeah, it's just really fun for me, and like I said, I just love connecting with people. So come check me out at channel KFC if you want, guys.
Right on, yeah, go ahead and do that. So yeah, guys, also, if you have not been catching up on what happened at Balticon, I really suggest you do with the Dampere chapter, because it's not just bombs in the chapter. It's like nuclear weapons, like 50 of them hitting you at once. And maybe me, KFC, and some other people will maybe try and get a discussion thrown together involving kind of the meta bad guy that Euron really is going to be, stuff that happened in that chapter. So be on the lookout for that. Also, this Thursday, I have What's the Difference? Don, Willie, the Sphinx, and the North Remembers will be joining me for that. This Saturday on the Hypes Watch channel, it will be our Q&A and a Feast for Bros on Saturday night. So I hope you guys join us all for that. Thanks to my guest, KFC.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
No problem. Anytime. And that being said, guys, if you liked the video, hit the like button, share it on social media, subscribe to me and KFC. And until next time, guys, adios.